Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty awesome little handheld that was just released by Pi Moroni known as the Pico System. I'm sure you read the title, but basically this is powered by a Raspberry Pi Pico. It's using the same chip, the RP2040. It does have its own custom PCB with that chip soldered on. So this is not a super powerful handheld, and at the time of making this video, basically what this was designed to do was to create your own 8-bit games with their 32-bit SDK. You can use C++ to do this, MicroPython, and they do have their own official PicoSystem API, which makes it really easy to develop your own game. Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think this is a really cool little idea, and I suspect to see at least NES running on this in the next few weeks, soon as people start getting these in their hand. So basically, inside of the box, we're going to get the Pico System itself. It's fully assembled, it's got the battery in it, and it's actually ready to play out of the box, plus a lanyard. So when it comes to the specs, for the CPU, we have that RP2040. This is a dual Cortex M0 Plus CPU, up to 133 MHz. 16 megabytes of QSPI flash storage, a 1.54-inch IPS LCD at 240 by 240, and it actually looks really good for being such a small display. A 525 mAh battery, and this will do up to 6 hours of continuous gameplay. This thing doesn't pull much power at all. A piezo buzzer / speaker, that's what we're going to be using as the speaker. We've got a USB Type-C interface, and it's CNC milled aluminum, or if you're from a different country, aluminium. So before we jump right into testing, I did want to do a quick teardown and just see what makes this thing tick. There's 4 screws on the rear of this milled case. It actually feels really good in the hand. I was surprised at how heavy this little thing is. I mean, it definitely feels like it's a high quality unit. And as soon as we get those screws out, we can just pull the back half of the case off. Yeah, this is a nice little setup here. And that battery is actually pretty huge compared to the handheld itself. So as you can see, this is a custom PCB. On the front, we're going to have that 1.54-inch 240 by 240 IPS display. Round back here, we've got that 525 mAh battery, and as you can see, we have that RP2040 soldered to this custom board. Initially, going into this, I figured that they were just using a regular old Raspberry Pi Pico plugged into a different board, but they went all out with this. I mean, this thing is totally custom. Go ahead and test this thing out. So to turn it on, we'll just hit that power button once, and it's basically instantly on. It hasn't loaded the game yet because I haven't pressed the button, but we do have a D-pad over here, 4 action buttons, USB Type-C up here, and our power button. That's about it on the unit. There's nothing on the bottom or the back. This did come pre-installed with a game called Super Square Bros by Scorpion Games. Let's go ahead and test it out. So going into the settings here, we do have a few options to mess around with. We can turn this up to Hacky Fast Mode, and I did turn it to number 4. This is a 2-player game, and obviously you'd play it in alternating mode. And I have played this game a little bit, and I gotta say, the D-pad and the buttons here actually feel really good. That D-pad is really accurate for what we have here. So obviously, it's a platformer game. It's actually a lot of fun, and you know, the name suggests that it's kind of Mario Bros-ish, and yeah, it definitely is. It feels really nice. I think they've done a good job making this little thing. And by the way, I mean, if any of my viewers get a hold of one of these and they start creating games for them, send the game over to me and I'll do a little showcase video. I would actually love to see what the community comes up with for this little thing. So like I mentioned, they do offer a few more pre-built games over on their website, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get a new game on this unit. To add a new downloaded game or one that you created, we do have to connect this to our PC. It's actually pretty simple to do. Basically what we're going to do is just plug it in, that USB Type-C port on the top. So I just plugged it in, nothing's happening, and that's because I need to hold the X button and power the little unit on. So I'll hold X, power it on, and it'll show up like a flash drive. And we're just going to drag and drop our games right here. And you can get a few new ones over here on Pi Moroni's website. All the information you really need to know is here and on their GitHub. I will leave links in the description. We just tested out Super Square Bros. There's also Dots, Rocks and Diamonds, and a few other ones. So I'm going to go ahead and download a few of these. Okay, so now that I have a few games downloaded, all I need to do is just drag and drop one over here. And on the unit itself, it actually started that game up before I did anything, but we can go ahead and power it down, unplug it from the PC, and we'll test this new game out. So the next one I added is called Super Blit Kart by Draft Freak. It's a Mod 7 based racing game, and I was really impressed to see this on the Pico. I mean, we have a 133 MHz super low end CPU, And they were able to come up with this 3D effect here. I mean, as you can see, it's kind of like Mario Kart. We don't have any background going on. It's a super simple game, but we do have some weapons that we can pick up and use inside of the game. I mean, this is actually pretty impressive to see running on this little tiny chip here. Next up, there was one called Geometry, and this one is really hard. I thought that I was just going to be blowing these rocks up like Asteroid, but you kind of got to cut them in half and get them down to size and dodge everything. Got a little life meter at the bottom, which is also your laser meter, and once you get caught up in there, it starts going down. This one is definitely kind of difficult, and it would take some time getting used to. Here's Rocks and Diamonds, and the description just states a classic game of dodging rocks and grabbing diamonds. And yeah, you got to kind of be quick about it. Think about how you're going to do this because those rocks will fall on you. You can easily reset. And everything that I've tested out so far has worked really well on the RP2040. I really can't wait to see more of these games created by the community. And the final game I wanted to test here is called Rainbow Ascent. It's actually pretty fun. It's a procedurally generated little jumping game. As you can see, you got to kind of make your way up to the top here. And it does get kind of hard as you keep going. That lava coming up, or water, whatever you want to call it, does go a bit faster the higher you go. But one issue I keep having here is I get stuck on this wall. For some reason, I just can't jump over sometimes, so I got to let myself, reset the game, and then I can get right back up. It's a little odd, but I'm chalking it up to user error. So overall, it's definitely a neat little handheld. It's a cool little concept using that Raspberry Pi Pico or the RP2040 inside of this unit. I would love to see, Doom ported to this, and I'm sure we'll get it soon, and some emulation. Now, in the past, I've actually tested out a little bit of emulation, some early emulation on the Raspberry Pi Pico, and since then, the team who was creating it, which was basically just a single guy, has kind of gone silent. He did have NES and Game Boy up and running, and to have that on a little handheld like this would be pretty cool. We've only got those 4 face buttons and the D-pad, so he would definitely have to come up with some way for start and select for most of the stuff like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and NES. But the RP2040 really isn't a super powerful chip, and I really think that's about all we'd be able to emulate with this thing. But the way it sits right now, it's kind of meant for you to make your own game and play them on there. And like mentioned, if any of my viewers get a hold of one of these and they start making games for them, send them my way. I would love to test them out, and if I get enough piled up, I could do a showcase video showing off your games that you created for this unit. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you're interested in learning more, maybe even picking one of these up, I will leave a few links in the description. I'll leave a link to Pi Moroni's store and their GitHub so you can learn more about it. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.